Hey guys, Mehyar here, and this is a 2015 Toyota 4Runner Trail with premium package. But before we get into the review, we need to go to the car wash and wash this bad boy. Okay guys, so let's talk about the 4Runner. So this truck actually belongs to my brother. He bought it brand new in 2015 and it has now almost 110,000 miles on it. I have driven this truck in a lot of our road trips through the years, both on and off road, and I figured why not review the truck and also tell you guys how the truck performed after 110,000 miles. So let's get into it, starting from the aftermarket stuff. We have added the TRD Pro front grille, got the 17-inch TRD wheels with plus 4mm offset, and the Gobi roof rack with the ladder in the back. The stock tires for the 4Runner are 265/70 R17, which are 31s, and this one runs the 275/70 R17 BF Goodrich KO2s, which is basically a 32-inch tire. I highly recommend the KO2s for people who mostly drive on pavement, but also do want to use their trucks off-road occasionally. Okay, now that we have mentioned the aftermarket stuff, let's talk about the truck itself. Starting from the looks, in the front, I really like how the headlights and the whole grille area complement each other, especially with that front TRD Pro grille. Also, underneath the headlights, you have this black piece leading to the fog lights, which have the same angle as the grille, which really helps with the aggressive stance of the truck. The trail trim, which is now called the TRD Off-Road, has also a fake hood scoop, which I wish had real vents, but I still love it for the looks. Moving to the side, I really like how the truck's profile still resembles the original 4Runner. This is the 3rd gen 4Runner, which go back to year 96. You can clearly see the side profile of the truck have stayed almost the same. This is true with all other 4Runner generations, which I really like and I wish more companies did that. I also like that from the side, the rear taillight cuts with almost the same angle as the rear window, which gives it a good harmony. Moving to the back, the overall design is very simple, but it still looks good even in 2021 in my opinion. The tail lights have a very small profile from the rear, but somehow suit the truck very well. The rear window is also quite large, giving the driver a very good visibility when looking in the rear view mirror. A nice feature the 4Runner has is that the rear window completely rolls down, which really helps with quickly venting out the hot air on those hot summer days. Something I really wish the 4Runner offered from the factory was adding a rear tire carrier integrated into the bumper as an option. Okay, now let's get into the interior. The 4Runner center console uses a very simple and kind of an old-fashioned design with a 6.1-inch touchscreen display in the center, which does the job, but the interface and the responsiveness aren't the best. The 2021 model, however, features an 8-inch display with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capabilities, which is a really nice update. I also really like how simple the air conditioning layout is with the 3 giant knobs. Any person that gets into this truck for the first time can figure out how the AC works in 5 seconds. This is what I want in an off-road oriented truck. Knobs are also very satisfying to use and these ones are no exception. There are also 2 smaller knobs for the head unit which I really like. The steering wheel also feels very comfortable and the buttons layout is also very simple. You get your call related buttons on the right and your stereo on the left. The gauge cluster is also very easy to read with a small display in the middle for your basic car information. You also get heated front seats and the driver also gets lumbar support, which my back really appreciates. On the off-road trims, you also get this console above the rear view mirror that gives you a lot of control over your off-road settings. You can disable the traction control, use A-Track or lock the rear differential, which are all lifesavers in certain off-road situations. The lower 2 knobs are for crawl control, which allows you to select terrain type and your preferred speed. Crawl control will control your gas and brake, so you can put your foot away from the pedals. This feature is useful when you drive over rocky terrains or down a steep descent. The truck will maintain a defined speed and takes care of the traction for you, and you only need to worry about steering. You also get a 400 watt AC inverter, which can really come in handy in camping, and next to your mirror controls, you can control your gauge cluster brightness, which is also a nice touch. The doors have a very simple design which fits the character of the 4Runner with some storage at the bottom. I really wish there was a place to put your phone in the door though. The center console also doesn't have a good spot for cell phones, especially when you have another passenger in the front and now you need to fit 2 cell phones in the center console. In the rear, you have pretty basic features, yet the seats are still very comfortable. I am 5'11" with back problems and I have spent hours in the rear seats during some road trips and I couldn't be happier with the comfort. A really nice feature is that you can recline the rear seats, which reduces your trunk space a little bit, but gives you much more comfort for the rear passengers. I wish bigger pickup trucks like the F-150, which have a ton of legroom for the rear passengers, also had these types of seats. You also get an armrest in the middle with 2 cup holders, which is expected. There are 2 12-volt DC outlets for the rear passengers as well, which is good to have. The trunk is also good in size, but I wish it was a bit larger. We always end up putting stuff on the roof rack when we travel with 4 people, but if you have 3 people or less in the 4Runner, you can always fold down one or both of the rear seats for extra trunk room and avoid dealing with the roof rack. There's also a sliding tray which is optional. Personally, we have never really used it, especially since it doesn't go all the way back, and if we went back, we might have skipped this option to get a larger cargo area. Okay, now, let's talk about the driving experience. The 4Runner is equipped with the famous 1GR FE engine, which is a 4-liter V6 producing 270 horsepower and 278 pound-feet of torque. This engine has been used on some of other Toyota trucks for years, including the Toyota FJ Cruiser, the Toyota Prado, which is not present in the US market, and many others. I myself had an FJ Cruiser for 5 years in Iran, which in theory is the shorter version of the same truck. Same engine, transmission, and same suspension components. I'm going to go a bit off track here about the FJ, but I'm trying to make a point, so bear with me a little. It was a 2011 model, and since gas was really cheap in Iran, I redlined most of my gears and pushed that engine and transmission every single day. I also took the FJ to desert trips 3 to 4 times a year, which we would camp in the middle of the desert and drive in the sand dunes all day, pushing the engine much more than you normally would. The thing about sand dunes is, you need to redline your engine in certain scenarios, especially when going up large sand dunes. Otherwise your engine won't maintain rev and will drop the RPM. I said all these stories to tell you I have pushed this engine and transmission combo for years on different scenarios, and not once the truck gave me a problem. This engine is not the most powerful considering the 4-liter displacement only producing 270 horsepower, but it is a bulletproof of an engine and is dead reliable. The transmission is an old 5-speed automatic which is also extremely reliable, but this reliability comes at a cost. The 4Runner is advertised to get 16 miles per gallon city and 19 miles per gallon highway, but this one gets 15.2 on a good day with these small modifications. So if you care about gas mileage a lot, this is not the truck for you. What I also really like about the 4Runner is that it still uses a body-on-frame design, which is what you want from an off-road vehicle. For those of you who don't know, body-on-frame design has much more resistance during twisting forces compared to unibody frame design, which makes it an ideal choice for off-roading. Okay, let's talk about handling. I have brought the 4Runner to this beautiful road near Saratoga in Northern California to see how the truck handles the tighter turns. The road goes up a mountain and back, so I tested the truck both uphill and downhill. The 4Runner uses a double wishbone layout with coilover shocks in the front and coiled springs and solid axle with 5 links in the rear. This combination is the best for high-speed off-roading and will provide much better handling on-road compared to trucks with front solid axles. The downside of double wishbone in the front, however, is for rock crawling. That's why Jeeps do rock crawling better. Solid axle can give you much more wheel travel. This specific model has the KDSS option, which stands for Kinetic Dynamic Suspension System. It will give you best of both worlds on and off-road. It reduces body roll on pavement driving and increases wheel travel while off-roading. This is achieved by adding hydraulic cylinders to the front and rear stabilizer bars and then connecting the cylinders by two-way piping. This way, both stabilizer bars can be controlled electronically through the hydraulic circuit. I don't want to get into much more detail here, but the KDSS is very noticeable every time you turn. It gives you much more confidence in windy roads. I have driven the 2015 TRD Pro 4Runner as well, and let me tell you, even though it has those nicer Wheelstein shocks, the body roll on that truck is significantly more than this truck with the KDSS. However, there are two downsides to the KDSS in my opinion. Number one is, more complexity in off-road usually means potential for more things to go wrong, and by digging into the 4Runner forums, I know that the KDSS pistons do fail from time to time and are expensive to replace. Number two, if you plan on lifting your vehicle a good 2.5 inches or even more, it's better to stay away from KDSS and get a regular 4Runner and start building from there. It is not recommended to lift the KDSS equipped 4Runners more than 2.5 inches in the front and 1 inch in the back. Lifting it more will limit the KDSS articulation and causes problems of its own. Now, let's talk acceleration. The 4Runner is definitely not fast, but it's not too slow either. It can pull itself for sure with the torquey 4-liter engine. The acceleration might not be great, but the truck has plenty of power off-road. There were numerous times which we have taken the truck off-road with 4 passengers and full payload, and the 4Runner always passed the obstacles with ease. Although, keep in mind that if you plan on modifying the truck more by adding steel bumpers, rock sliders and larger tires, you start feeling the lack of power from the 270 horsepower engine. In that case, you can start by adding a cold air intake and a high-flow catback exhaust system, and if you felt you still need more power, you can add a supercharger to get some good HP gains. Keep in mind that these mods probably push your gas mileage down to the 12 to 14 miles per gallon range. But again, you don't buy these trucks for economy, you buy them because they are capable and fun. Now that we covered acceleration, how about the brakes? Well, the brakes are not the strongest part of the truck. They perform well when the truck is not heavy, but during road trips, I really feel the 4Runner can definitely use more stopping power. I recommend upgrading your brakes if you want to move to 35-inch or larger tires. So let's answer the real question here. How is the truck after 110,000 miles on the odometer? Well, honestly, it has held up very well considering the places we took it to. There are some signs of wear on the steering wheel and the seats, which are expected at this mileage, but the truck is still running almost like day one. I don't feel any noticeable degradation in power and driving experience. These trucks are designed to easily hit 500,000 miles with no major problems, and with proper maintenance, you can easily pass that number. Something else to keep in mind when considering the 4Runner is that there are very few cars that hold their values as good as 4Runners. You can buy a used 4Runner today and you know the truck will still be worth something 10 years from now. Something else to consider is that Toyota is saying goodbye to naturally aspirated engines in the 6th Gen 4Runner, which is believed to be released in late 2022. If you like the instant torque of the naturally aspirated engines and want to stay away from turbocharged ones, this might be one of your last chances to get yourself one. Finally, the price. The base SR5 model starts at $37,300 US, and this one, which is now called the TRD Off-Road in 2021, starts at $44,000 US with premium package included. Well, this was my take on the 4Runner, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. We are lifting the 4Runner and add a ton of modifications soon, and also, I'm buying a truck which I'm sure you guys will love. So subscribe and hit the notifications bell to not miss out on the new content. Stay tuned and have a great day.